Hello and welcome to Hexed Encountered. I'm Joe. It is Sports Saturday and we're going to take a look at the game Top Line Hockey. This is currently on Kickstarter. It is designed by Scott Wambold, and what I'm going to do here is I was actually going to do a gameplay video, but I thought I would be better served, or you would probably be better served, I should say, by doing a kind of a look at how the game works, and specifically like team creation and what the player ratings, for lack of a better word, the player qualities and abilities, what those mean. And then next week do the playthrough video where you can actually see the game being played. And that would still get everything in there information-wise before the Kickstarter ends, which would still allow you to back the game, which costs as little as $4 depending on what level you want to back it at. So let's get started here. All right, so first thing here, obviously that's the first page, and you can see it says draft, right? So I'm just gonna kind of go through the rule book and we'll talk about things here. So you can see there's an intro, talks about the game day. There's a 6-minute play example, and we'll probably skip that only because we're going to do a gameplay video next week. Then we'll talk about creating teams and players, which I think is kind of a really cool idea. Shows you how you would be able to make your own teams and players. Go through quick play, advanced play, season play, and then look at the two leagues, although only one of them actually has been fleshed out here pre and during the Kickstarter, and that would be the PHA. And then we'll wrap it up, and at the back there are some tables which I probably won't go into because, again, we'll look at that during the playthrough video. All right, so let's get started. So we probably won't spend much time here on the intro, but it does kind of give you Scott's thoughts on what the game is supposed to do, right? And, having gone through the rules a few times myself now, I kind of feel like this covers a lot of what I personally would like in a tabletop game, or even a computer game, to be honest. There's a lot in here, and it seems like this is very well fleshed out and very well designed. Now, the proof, of course, will be in the pudding, which means playing it and seeing, how much fun we have and everything. But everything you would need to have a full league that you can play solo or with other people, year-to-year progression, bringing in rookies, all that stuff is in here if you want to use it. So the key thing here is the how does it work, where it talks about having a role and a quality, and then they're being combined, of course, with the 4 other players to make a line, which is, of course, your 3 forwards and your 2 defensemen. The roles and qualities will be the key ingredients in determining what events happen and what happens through those events, such as your shots, goals, etc. And then you'll have your shifts, which take a minute, and then you, as the coach, will decide whether you want to keep them out, do you want to bring someone else in. You have your 4th line, which can be either like a checking line, because you have 3 sets of defensemen and you have 4 sets of forwards, so you can kind of combine things to make more of a checking line, or anything else. You have the ability to kind of structure your roster the way you want, within the confines, of course, of what your players' qualities are. So this game, the keynote here would probably be this first line, this first bullet point about not being a strict simulation and focusing more on coaching and team management. In some ways, this reminds me of the games that like play games does, where the qualities kind of drive the game. So the players have qualities. Play system obviously is very well proven over years, and this isn't any kind of cheap knockoff of that or anything. It's a completely different structure, but it acts in kind of a similar way. Just like with Dead Ball, you get the ability to use real or fictional players, and you can roll up whatever you want. And then you can see that there's player growth and quality, and teams are meant to grow and change through the seasons. You need only a D20, ideally 2. some tokens and tables. Everything fits on a sheet of paper, right? You can play as 1 player, 2 player, small league. There's the quick mode, which allows you to quickly generate game results. There's some math involved in that, and we'll see that in a few minutes. So in the rule book, just tells you kind of what is in here, and we already kind of went through that when we looked at the table of contents. So coach versus player. In order to avoid confusion, the humans rolling the dice and using the paper will be referred to as coaches, and the skaters and goalies making up the rosters will be referred to as players. That makes sense. The standard disclaimer here in yellow. This is the preview edition. This is, through Kickstarter, of course. Now, game day, kind of basics. If you're a hockey fan, you know that the hockey's played in 3 20-minute periods. You have a shift, etc. Your team will consist of 20 players, 12 forwards, 6 defenders, a starting goalie, and a backup goalie. You'll also have 3 inactive players, so 2 skaters and a third goalie, most likely. Okay, so players are usually referred to in shorthand. So this is one of the first things that you would kind of need to know. Because when we do the playthrough, instead of me having to explain all this, ideally you will have watched this video and you'll have an idea of what all this stuff means. So it's pretty straightforward. You can see here that you've got the number. So that would be the player's uniform number. So right here, 26 would be his number. The JO is journeyman, which is basically his skill level, and then power forward would be his role. So yeah, this would be quality, this would be role. And then you have 91, who's a veteran, and SP is sniper. And we have another sniper here who's a rookie. Then we have a veteran, and AG. I forget what AG is, but we're going to go through that in a moment. So you can see, and then down here you have your goalies as well. So you have your starting goalie here, and then over here is your backup goalie. And then the FC and BC ratings are your forecheck and backcheck ratings, which come through the roles and abilities, or roles and qualities rather, and that you add them up and you get a number. And then as you can see, you've got certain varieties. And you will also notice that your top pairing of defensemen are on the first line and the fourth line. Okay, so now we go to the roster sheet. Both coaches will have a roster sheet that shows the lines, the shift, etc. So you will have a shift tracker. That's one of the things you'll use a marker for. There are tables for various things, for face-off, forecheck, shots and rebounds, line tactics, etc. Then penalties, goalie vibe, which is just kind of how your goalie is doing, I suppose more like a mental kind of aspect. In terms of, is he having a bad day, then he might be off, or is he hot and then he would be good, or whatever. So we'll see that again fleshed out a little bit more deeply as we continue through here. There's reminders, yeah. So like I said, you'll use tokens to track that stuff. This is a look at the score sheet, and we'll go over that probably a little bit more in depth when we do the playthrough video. But you can see all of the elements that are in here. So you've got your list here, which is kind of what we saw above. And then the player information. Down here you have your tables, and then your tracks for goals, penalties, other, and then tactics and so on are over here. Score sheet, and then a shift. So one shift of play is broken down into 4 phases. The face-off, if after a stoppage. Your forecheck roll. So you'll roll, both teams, I believe, roll. Or no, you roll for the face-off, both teams roll. And then you have your offensive tactics, your defensive tactics as far as putting which line to put on the ice, running the risk of, if you leave players out for an extra shift, they're exhausted, and then they take some penalties, not literal penalties, although that's part of it, but their play drops, the quality of play drops. So here's your face-off and the things you can do. So they obviously, if you're a hockey fan, you know that anytime there's a stoppage, you have a face-off. So goals, penalties, other, etc. You can choose to take a timeout, starting with a team that's going to go on a penalty kill, or the away team. and then they can take a timeout in order to earn a bonus on the face-off and allow both teams to choose any line they wish to take the face-off. And you can choose your active line, and there's a priority for that, which again, if you're familiar with hockey, you know that you know the rules for that. Drop the puck, take possession. So here's the drop the puck where both teams roll their D20, add their back checking rating, and then add the bonuses based on the roles of the centers, because they're the ones taking the face-off. You get a +4 if you have a playmaker center, and a +6 if it's an all-star playmaker. And you also get a +4 if you just took a timeout. So that's the advantage of using a timeout. Then you'll have possession, and you'll roll to determine what happens. You may earn a shot, and then you would roll for the shot, etc. So there's more of that, obviously, as well. The forecheck roll, this will tell you after possession's determined, you both roll your D20 and add your forecheck rating if they're the ones in possession of the puck, or the back check rating. If they don't, then you compare the results. And so you're always going to have either a tie, or you'll have one team winning, whether it's the offensive team using their forecheck or the defensive team using the back check. Then you have shots that will sometimes come up, and you'll get a D20 roll, and it'll tell you what happens. You can have multiple saves and a scrum, as you can see on a 1 or 2. Goalie saves, which can determine if it's a hot or fire goalie. They would have a better chance of taking over than just regular saves. And then if the shot's in an open, save and rebound, otherwise save. And then, of course, a 20, as you can see, there is a goal. Now, if the result's a goal, you stop. For most results, the goalie gets a save. For some results, you'll have to roll on the rebound or the scrum, where you'll have your team scoring prowess and goalie acrobatics come to light. That's where the qualities come in. And down here you see your scrum table, and again you'll see you have more chances of getting a goal based on your goalies, the goalies being bad or not, or their vibe is bad rather. And obviously, if the goalie is better than okay. I mean, up here you've got 13 to 16 goal if goalie is not on fire. So on fire is, I believe, the highest level of vibe, the most positive level of vibe. So if he is not at that level, you're going to give up a goal on 13 to 16. 18 to 20, the shooting team scores if they have an extra skater. So that would be obviously when you pull your goalie at the end of the game if you're trailing, or if they have two more all-star players than the opponent's line does. So you do, as a coach, and this is where the two-player strategy part comes in, you do want to be cognizant of your, just like you would in real hockey, who your opponent has on the ice, as well as so that you can determine which line works best for you to counter them. All right, then we have more about how saves and everything work. You have your tactics. So there are some tactics, and you can see here, they include line changes, dump and change, long shifts, extra shift, etc. They'll have effects. Here's your pull the goalie, with effects instigate, which can increase the tension, increases the tension by 2, which may start a fight, but you will take a penalty and results in a stoppage. And then you have your last minute of play in the period. So, like I said, the game goes very, very much in depth. And there's a lot to it, but it's not as complicated as it probably seems as we're kind of scrolling through here. Your goalie vibe, again, so there are your levels. You start sieve is the worst, cold, okay, hot, on fire. On fire is the best. At the end of each period, if a goalie made 10 or more saves, they go up a level. So they typically will either start cold, okay, or hot. So you have room to go up and down generally. And that's determined by the performance. If your goalie gave up 3 or more goals, they go down a level. And you can swap your goalie at stoppages. Penalties, right? So there are rules for penalties, of course, as you might expect. Tensions, fights, and instigating. So you will have fighting, and you will be able to instigate and things like that. End of the game, shootouts, overtime rules, the shootout, and then a shootout table. And then we have our game example. So, like I said, this is what the score sheet is going to look like, or what I started to say was, like I said, we'll go through this, or we'll go through the gameplay next time. But just a quick overview here, you can see in this area here on this side, you've got Tampa Bay shot on goal, or Thunder Bay, sorry, I have TB, I see TB, I think Tampa Bay. It's Thunder Bay and Calumet, so here's Calumet shot on goal. And then, of course, these are your players, etc. And you can see that the first two periods have been played. And so you're going to play out the third period. And then it goes through that, and I'm going to kind of scroll through this quickly because it goes through the first 6 minutes of play. And again, you can download this from the Kickstarter page, the Kickstarter for this game. The rules, this file, which is a PDF, is available there. So you can download this yourself and look at it and go through that 6 minutes and see if you can follow along. You know, that would probably be a good idea if you're thinking that you might be interested in this game. How do you create players and teams? So this is one of the things I wanted to highlight in this video. So there are 4 things you need, as you can see right there: name, number, role, and quality. Then it talks about how many players are on a team, which we already mentioned. You can have a salary cap or whatever. It's very open-ended and flexible. Just like Dead Ball, you can kind of do a lot of things and be creative and make your own leagues, make your own players, make your own teams, all that stuff. So here's a list of all your roles. So you have various skills and qualities. As you can see, our roles, I keep saying skills, it's roles and quality. So you have your role, which is skill or endurance, right? You have 2 different ways you can go, generally speaking. Then you have, for qualities, you have a balanced, top-heavy, and solid. So this would be like a total roster, basically, because you have your 3 goalies, you have your various forwards, and then down at the bottom you have two-way and stay-at-home defenders. So this would be kind of an example of how you could build your team if you wanted a specific type of team. And then down here you go through making your lines. It tells you 12 forwards, 6 defenders, starting and backup goalie, right? Real simple. Then your player role. So this is a key thing to keep in mind, is that your role will help determine what your forecheck bonus will be for that player. So if you are a power forward, you get a +3 to your forecheck rating for your line. If you're a sniper, you get a 1, but you also get a goal scoring bonus on the rebound table. Playmakers are balanced, and they give you a bonus of 1 on the forecheck and the back check, and also give you a +4 on faceoffs if they're a center. Then the agitators, 1 to assignment. That means if they're a forward, they give a +1 to the forecheck. If they're a defenseman, they give a +1 to the back check. Same thing for grinders. And then again, you have other bonuses such as fight rolls and long shift, extra shift. Two-way defender is a back check +1, and a goal scoring bonus on rebounds. And then your stay-at-home defender gives you a +2 on your back check. And then your highest and lowest quality on the line. So a line with an all-star, 2 veterans, a journeyman, and a rookie would add 5 for the all-star and 1 for the rookie. So you can see that in here. And again, high and low. So you have an all-star and a rookie. That's your high, is your all-star, the rookie's the low. So you would take those 2 and add them together. So Smelt is like a really raw player. It's below a rookie. So they would be a 0. So if you had a Smelt on a line, that would be your lowest, and you would always get a 0. If you have an all-star or a mentor, those would be your 2 higher ones, as well as journeyman and phenom, but the highest is all-star. And then you can see if you make those players with these qualities your captain, they give you a captain bonus as well. Lastly, you choose your goalies. Goalies have a special rating called Vibe that will fluctuate over the course of a game and season, but will have a starting vibe based on their quality. So you can see Smelt, Rookie, and Fringe will always be cold starters. Veteran, Phenom, Journeyman, and Mentor will always be okay, and an All-Star will always be hot. Then you have scratched players. These can be plugged into the lineup for future games, and he discusses that in the league play section. Down here you have an example line. So the Halifax Privateers will be creating their lines. So you want to build your front line. So it goes through what they have. They have a mentor playmaker at center. an all-star power forward, a veteran sniper. Those are their forwards. They have a journeyman two-way defender and a mentor grinder as their defensemen. The two mentors are named captains. That gives you a nice captain bonus. And then it goes through all the ratings. So you get +5 for your left wing all-star, +2 for your right wing veteran, high and low. Then you've got a +1 for your center, a +3 for your left wing power forward, +1 for your right wing sniper, and +3 for your captain. Forecheck total 15. And then the back check is calculated the same way, and it adds up to 13. Now the second line, and it goes through the whole thing with building a second line, and they get a forecheck of 12 and a back check of 11. Third line is where the team will put their rookies with the thought that they can be skipped over in situations where more experience is needed. So again, you're going to see lower totals here, and you can see we've got a 6 and a 7. And then the fourth line is the defensive backstop that can be used to hold on to a lead. So they will oftentimes have a better back check rating than forecheck rating, which is usually not the case. But with this, it usually is the case. So they have a forecheck of 8 and a back check of 10. So they're going to start a journeyman goalie with their fringe goalie rating in the wings, and then they would fill out their roster sheet, and this is what it would look like. So you have your forecheck and back check ratings for line 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then your journeyman goalie starts okay, and your fringe goalie starts cold. Now you can talk about single player games. And each of the teams that come with the game, the PHL, which is Prairie Hockey Association, I think, and the ESHL, I forget what, Elite Stars Hockey League, I think, will have a coaching style ranging from high pressure to defense out. So you have offensive focus and then defensive focus for each style. So you have coaches. So you have a high pressure, total hockey, adaptive, defense out, etc., right? And then the condensed score sheet is a way for you to reduce the amount of paper you need to juggle, so you can use this and it'll show you your roster, your game tape, your box score, and your cheat sheet, which is just your charts, basically. And so that's what this is here. Pretty straightforward. Now here's the PHA, which is the one that's built in, and you can see they have power rankings for the 6 teams in the league, and then you can see their rosters here, and you'll see these again further down. I'm going to scroll quickly through here because I wanted to show you one more thing, but you can see all the players and their lines. This is all set up for you, so you can literally take this and play it. You can download this right now off Kickstarter and play the game. So there's no reason for anybody to not try it. You can download it and play it, and then if you like it, you can back it for $4 or $5, and you'll get the other teams, the other leagues, the ESHL primarily. But if we get to 1,000 on the Kickstarter, and right now I believe it's at 940-ish, so that's maybe 12 to 15 more people backing it. We'll push it past 1,000, and if that happens, then Scott's going to rate 3 more leagues, so you'll get more players and more leagues, etc. Winnipeg Warlords, and then your schedule, and then the notes and designs. Did I skip? I think I skipped some stuff. Let me go back up. I obviously screwed this up, so I apologize for that. There are little notes in here, I thought. Maybe this is a different version. Yeah, I think I had a different version that showed the team recaps for these, and this is not that file. So rather than go hunting for it, you can see some of these. So you have the Regina Rail Rebels, and Wayne Sajoro is the coach. They have a rival. This is the coaching style, adaptive. Then you have all the players with their names and their role and their quality. And then down here, you can take this, right? So we have Luca Lime here, who's a sniper phenom. And Luca Lime is your first line left wing. So he's an 87 phenom sniper. Then 24 is, you find 24. Kelly Blitz, journeyman power forward. And 14 is Cubert Walters, journeyman power forward, etc., etc. So that's how that works. Oh, 24, what am I talking about? 24 is Ike Hill, who's a mentor power forward. That's what the MN means. MN means mentor. So 30 AS would be an all-star. So the goalie is an all-star goalie. And that's Jamal Namani, maybe. He's an all-star goalie. So you can see he's probably the best player on the team in terms of his quality. And then you can go through again and see all the Duluth Daredevils. Matty Carnivore, rather, is the coach. This is a high-pressure style. Their rivals, Winnipeg, and so on and so forth. So that will do it. Like I said, you can download this file off the Kickstarter. I will put the link in the description. You can download it, and you can actually play the game. Go through the rules. You have 6 teams here that you can mess around with. And then you can back the game and get extra stuff if this gets pushed out to 1,000. And then even beyond, there's 8 or 9 days left in the campaign right now. So if we can, get some more backing, then more stuff will be added. Obviously, you'll get the ESHL. As I mentioned, that's a 16-team league. With the 3 additional leagues, you'd get even more teams. So worth your while to at least check it out, because there's no cost to do that, and the cost to actually get the game is like $4 or $5 or more, depending on if you wanted to add a player to the game and so on and so forth, because there are various levels of pledge available. So that's going to do it. Thank you for watching, as always. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to post them here. And I'll do my best to answer them, or if you have questions that may be better answered by the designer, I think you can probably, I think there's comments on the Kickstarter where you might be able to ask questions there, so you could do that as well. And but yeah, that will do it for this video. Again, I will do a playthrough on this game next week in the next episode of Sports Saturday. But that's it for this one. I'm Joe. This is the Hexed Encountered Sports Edition. And until next time, as always, happy gaming.